If you've been following the smartphone industry for a while now, you probably noticed a new trend that surfaced a couple years back. After more than a decade of $600 flagship tier smartphones, prices started to increase in 2017, resulting in roughly a 50% increase by the time the Galaxy S20 landed earlier this year. Now, I'm not here to talk about why smartphones have gotten so expensive. If you want a video on that topic, leave me a comment and let me know. But it's clear that the smartphone industry needs a wake-up call and a return back to its roots. As amazing as devices like the Galaxy S20 Ultra are with all of their great cameras, very few people can actually justify spending that much money on a new smartphone. Because at the end of the day, we're still talking about a phone, a device that's meant to make phone calls, browse the web, connect to social media, play games, capture videos, and all that. But it's still just a phone, and most people are upgrading every couple years. While cheaper smartphones can deliver a decent experience across most facets, we've often had to pick and choose which features are most important, since mid-range devices often focus on particular areas to help keep costs down. But the new OnePlus Nord, this phone here, has just landed and may actually change the definition of the mid-range smartphone and make you rethink whether or not you need to actually spend your hard-earned cash on a flagship device. Now, OnePlus doesn't get all the credit here, since Apple's 2020 iPhone SE surprised us all. I'm gonna be honest, I never thought that Apple would deliver a cheap iPhone with flagship tier performance. Like any other smartphone, the device does have its compromises, but none of them are significant enough to keep buyers away. As for the OnePlus Nord, you get a whole lot of smartphone here at an incredibly reasonable price. The spec sheet is fairly simple though, with a Snapdragon 765G wrapped inside a body that doesn't look any different than most other OnePlus devices do. The only difference here that gives it away that this is a mid-range device is that the metal frame has been downgraded to plastic. That being said though, the new $1,000 Galaxy Note 20 from Samsung was just unveiled with a plastic back, so I guess plastic is making a comeback in the premium segment as well. Okay, enough of that and back to the phone. As I mentioned before, it still looks and feels like any other OnePlus device does, with metal buttons for the volume rocker and power button, and of course the notification toggle on the side. When you turn the phone on, its 6.44-inch Full HD Plus display reminds you of why OnePlus devices are so special. Even on a mid-range phone like this, they've included a 90 Hz refresh rate display, which makes the UI feel that much more fluid than what you get on competing devices. I'll probably be saying this more than once in this review, but this feature makes the Nord feel like it's a much more expensive device. And then for the display itself, you're looking at a flat panel, which I honestly love. So you won't have to deal with the extra frustrations like unwanted glare or false screen taps that always seem to accompany curved displays. Animations are smooth and effortless thanks to the Snapdragon 765G that's powering the phone. And the generous 8 GB of RAM in the base model is a godsend for multitaskers. And if you want to bump that up even further, you can go all the way up to 12 GB of RAM, which is honestly unheard of for devices in this category. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the Snapdragon 765G lately, alongside a slight misconception that the 700 series chipset would bridge the gap between the 600 and 800 series chips in terms of performance. The truth is, the Snapdragon 765G offers roughly 2/3 the power on the CPU side and 1/3 of the performance on the GPU side when compared to the Snapdragon 865. So, at the end of the day, you're still talking about a chipset which offers mid-tier performance. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because honestly, that's all you really need these days to even play high-end games. No, you're not going to be maxing out settings on Fortnite or Call of Duty Mobile, but you'll still have a great gaming experience. The main thing that you will notice is that games will load just a little bit slower, but once they're up and running, you shouldn't have any issues at all. On the software front, the Nord delivers Android 10 with Oxygen OS 10.5. Now, one of the most frustrating things that mid-range smartphone owners will tell you is that software updates usually come few and far between. That's likely to be a lot different with the Nord. Now, I've already received 2 full updates on this device even before launch, and this phone will likely even get Android 11 a few months, maybe 3 to 4 months before flagship smartphones from Samsung are expected to get it. Compared to a lot of devices within the category, the software experience that you get on the OnePlus Nord is practically impeccable. Honestly, I really love it. Besides a couple pre-installed apps, there's really not a whole lot of bloatware to contend with. And then there's all the customization options that OnePlus has baked in, like my favorite, installing third-party icon packs without having the need to change out the launcher for something from the Play Store. OnePlus is also using Google Contacts, its phone app, alongside Google Messages with RCS messaging support, which honestly is a great push in the right direction. Like other OnePlus devices, the in-display fingerprint sensor works like a charm practically every single time. And on top of that, you also get Face Unlock as well, which is extremely fast. All-day battery life has been a staple of mid-range devices for quite some time, and the 4,115 mAh battery cell inside of this phone definitely gets the job done. Now, it's not going to be the longest lasting mid-range smartphone that's out there, but it's good enough to get you from morning till night on a single charge. And on top of that, you do get 30-watt fast charging, just like you do on other flagship tier OnePlus devices. One area in which the OnePlus Nord truly outperforms its direct competitors is in the camera department. With a 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 sensor for its main camera, the Nord captures some incredible pictures. Take a look. It also has 3 additional cameras on the back with an 8 megapixel ultra-wide, 5 megapixel depth sensor, and 2 megapixel macro camera. Now, while saying that the Nord has a quad camera setup on the back may sound impressive, those last 2 cameras are practically useless since portrait shots really don't turn out as often as they should, and the 2 megapixel macro images that you get are a joke. At least the main camera makes up for these shortcomings with 4K video capture, which is actually pretty decent. And you also get a unique dual selfie camera up front with a standard and ultra-wide lens. I have to say that I've really missed taking ultra-wide selfies since Google dropped the feature after the Pixel 3. The first weeks that I used this phone, I was ready to crown the Nord as the mid-range smartphone camera king. But now that I've been using the Pixel 4a for a couple days, I'd have to say that the Nord has been demoted, at least in my books, to the number 2 spot. The versatility that the Nord offers, though, with its ultra-wide cameras on the front and the back, do give it a little bit of an edge in that department, but it still can't keep up with the mid-range Pixel device when it comes to overall image quality that it has with that 12 megapixel camera there. At the end of the day, the OnePlus Nord is definitely my favorite mid-range smartphone device that I've personally tested over the past few years, offering a perfect balance between camera quality, design, performance, battery life, and of course, the price. All these combined make it probably the most compelling mid-range device that we've seen in a very, very long time. Now, of course, 400 euros may still be a lot of money for some people, but it's less than half of what you typically need to pay for a flagship tier device. Sure, sacrifices were made and a few features you typically see on OnePlus devices were omitted, but the phone's incredibly low price point more than makes up for any of the phone's shortcoming, making the OnePlus Nord the must-buy mid-range smartphone of 2020. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching my OnePlus Nord smartphone review. And if you've made it this far, you might be interested in taking a closer look at the camera on the OnePlus Nord. I have a handful of camera comparisons between the Nord and some flagship tier devices, so make sure you check those out as well. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you guys again, and I'll catch you in the next one.